could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.
Alrighty, what's up YouTube? Today, finally I can freaking make this video. Arcane, all of it came out. I literally already got done watching it today. So hopefully this video will be out by today, November 20th. So hopefully this can get out super fast. I will preface this by saying, before I even talk about Arcane, hey, if you haven't watched it, it's super good. You don't need to know the lore of League of Legends to watch it. All in all, it's a good 8.85, 853 point whatever. Yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, I would give it a 9, almost a 10 maybe, but there's just some things that just got me out of whack, and I was just like, nah, it can't be like that. So, if you guys haven't watched Arcane, do definitely watch Arcane, and then come back to this video. This video is going nowhere. So let's begin. Now, I'm going to start talking about each act, and then I'll talk about the good and bad things, and then I'll talk about the characters that I didn't like, did like, or just didn't care about. Now, let's talk about Act 1. Act 1 was really good. It was so freaking hype. I absolutely loved it. Jinx, obviously, the reason why she got the name Jinx, of course, she jinxes everything. She pretty much ruins everything. And every time Vi in their group tries to do something, Jinx is always there to mess it up. Like when Vi in their group got the Hextech stuff from Jace's room, and then they got chased by these Zon goons, and then freaking Jinx had to throw it away into the water, and then she made a makeshift bomb that didn't even work. That definitely made Jinx a Jinx. Now, another good thing that I liked about Act 1 was the Grayson lady. She was the head enforcer, sheriff, I think that's what they called them, that made deals with Vander, talked with Vander. You guys definitely know her. She's played by a very recognizable voice. I'm pretty sure if you heard her voice, you would 100% remember. And I think I remember her from when I was binge watching Vampire Diaries, or it was Grimm. I think it was Grimm. Oh, yeah, it was Grimm. It was Grimm. And I can't even pronounce her name. Google, what's her name?
Shohreh Aghdashloo.
Yep, that's her. I'll definitely just have pictures up for you guys to see and all that. But yeah, so the head enforcer lady named Grayson, the one that pretty much was with Caitlyn when Caitlyn was little, and of course let her win during the shootout. That was in like Act 2. She dies sadly later on because, well, Marcus the irredeemable dumbass made a deal with Silco, and well, you know, Grayson died. You know, she's one of the very few female characters that I think were actually really good in this show. There are a couple female characters that just didn't make sense, and then there were some that made a lot of sense and they were cool. Some of them I was like, it doesn't really make sense at the moment, and then as the story went on, I was like, oh yeah, definitely, that's awesome. And Grayson was one of them. Another thing is, Vi is a very emotionally driven leader character, and I absolutely hate it. It makes sense for the character because, well, Vi pretty much violence, or as everybody knows her name now, Violet. Her gameplay is pretty violent. She literally dashes at you with her fist, breaks your shields with her W, and then blasts you with her E. And then, of course, freaking tries to run you up, and knock you down with her ultimate. Like, yeah, very violent. So it makes sense that Vi is a very emotionally driven character. But it doesn't make her a good leader. It's like pretty much if you had Raphael as the leader, and then every engagement you got in made you guys lose because Raphael couldn't even think rationally about the situation and determine what was the best course of action. So Vi, very terrible character. I absolutely hate her. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I think this is the most part all I will say about Vi. And of course, by the end of Act 1, obviously Vi ditches Jinx because, well, Jinx at the very end kind of sent 3 or 4 Hextech crystals, blew up an entire place full of shimmer, as far as I remember, and pretty much after that, Jinx goes into the hands of Silco, and then Silco raises her up to be, well, Jinx. So another cool thing about Act 1 is Vander. Now, Vander, I will say is my most favorite character in the entire series. Not because he may be Warwick, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows Vander is Warwick. If you don't think Vander is Warwick, you're either crazy or you're on some type of drug. Since throughout the entire first act, Vander was being called lapdog, hound, pup, things that involve a dog, right? It would make sense if you guys were listening that Vander is Warwick. Also, if you know, Vander runs the streets of Zaun. Now, if you guys follow like Skin Spotlights or something like that, those lead creators, you would know, or maybe you can look it up after this video or right now and then come back. Warwick has a line in his little voice catalog that says,
I ran these streets. Now it's your turn to run. I know Zaun streets like the back of my claws.
Warwick has to be at least 99.999% Vander. And then I already mentioned this, but we also get introduced to Shimmer, which is the pink stuff that pretty much is what makes all the people kind of go crazy, become really strong. That's what Vander kind of boosted himself with to help get Vi and Jinx out of the building that blew up after Jinx killed her brothers Milo and Klanger, which, by the way, Milo, one of the most incompetent asshats I've ever seen in any show possible. Like, he's so bad. I hate Milo. But Klanger, big guy, that brother, he's good. I like him. I like Klanger. Klanger is one of the few characters that I liked in this show, but too bad that he pretty much got offed by Jinx. Of course, Klanger is not like a big plot point in the story and all that of Vi and Jinx and all that, so yeah, killing him off doesn't really matter. But I did really like the character of Klanger. Now, on to Act 2. A few things about Act 2 that I really liked. Jace was dope at the start. You know, big aspirations, good guy. He knows where his heart is. But sadly, you know, at the end, he kind of goes haywire. And of course, we get the Jace that we get now at the end of the season. And towards the end of the season, he's also a character that I don't really care about. Since Victor is a character I actually like a lot more than Jace by the end of this season. Then we get Caitlyn and Jace have a history together where pretty much Jace was working under Caitlyn's family. And Jace was pretty much trying to create the Hex Tech and the arcane stuff. Now, this is where some of the weird things happen. You know, of course, there's in Act 2, it was around episode 5 or 6, where Caitlyn meets up with Vi, of course, in the jail cell. And I will preface by saying, Caitlyn and Vi, they gay as fuck. But my thing about relationships in stories like this, it doesn't really make sense. Because honestly, it doesn't make sense that two characters are together and you automatically have to ship them or make suggestions to the audience that, you know, they're into each other. Doesn't make sense. Then, of course, we get that between Caitlyn and Vi, which I absolutely hated. People kind of did it too much. I think the writers did it just to kind of like do a little fan service to the audience, which, whatever, okay. They still gay as fuck though. After that whole thing, we get obviously Mel and Jace, which Mel, at the very beginning when we meet Mel, I don't really like her. She's kind of whatever of a character. She manipulates the hell out of Jace. Jace is literally blinded by love. And, well, you know, he makes all the terrible decisions. But, of course, I do start to like Mel towards the end of the season. She does become a lot more likable of a character. So that's that. And then, of course, Victor and Miss Young. You guys probably don't even know who Miss Young is. But Miss Young is basically the assistant that was kind of in love with Victor. But Victor kept on putting her at arm's length or pushing her away. Until, of course, the very end of the season. But also, Victor has a backstory with Singed, which was awesome. And the little big, you know, amphibian, forgot what, oceloto or ocelot, that big thing, that was awesome to see. That's apparently where they get the shimmer from. So Victor's backstory with Singed is very awesome. Overall, the story was meant for Jinx and Caitlyn and Vi. That was whatever, honestly. It was cool that we got to see Caitlyn talking to the Grayson enforcer lady. That was cool. Kind of showed like what Caitlyn kind of wanted to be, you know, someone like the Grayson lady. But other than that, you know, the storyline for Jinx, Vi, and Caitlyn there, that was... But it was really good for the Jace and Victor storyline because a lot of things happen, you know. Relationships here and there, the caveats between Jace and Mel, and then Victor and Miss Young. That was awesome. Very interesting what is like the differences between those two characters. Now, we get to Act 3. Echo is revealed to be the leader of the Firelight gang, which obviously you saw them earlier in Act 2 when they were messing with Silco's, you know, goons and pretty much getting the crap beat out of them by Jinx. And then, of course, by the end of the season, Echo does meet Heimerdinger, and then all that stuff that you'd know from reading the Echo lore. And also, another cool thing in Act 3 is Jace makes his hammer that everybody knows about, the Hammer of Lightning and freaking Hextech, whatever, that everybody plays in League of Legends, and if you build lethality, you pretty much one-shot any squishy to, like, I think 10 to 20% health in-game if you're full build and go full lethality by the end of the game. But another thing that happens to Jace in Act 3 is he pretty much kills a kid while fighting these Hextech goons. Not Hextech, Chemtank. But, oh yeah, but the Chemtank hats, that's cool. That's an item in the game. Again, a lot of cool Easter eggs here and there. Because, you know, in Act 1, we got Jin's mask, Leandri's anguish, and I think a Kindred mask. It was pretty much during the first act, maybe first episode, when you go into Zaun and you see all the stalls, the Ionian dudes, and then you get one specific scene where you just get a bunch of masks on a wall. And I think that's like Jin, Kindred, and a Leandri's anguish. I'm not too sure about that. Somebody can fact check me. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but also in Act 1, all the Shimmer stuff may be a catalyst for Mundo in the future. Because, well, you know, it's pink, almost near purple. But then, you know, if you guys see in game, Mundo's little, like, injection thing on his shoulder is pink. It's not Chemtank. It's pink. So, it may be a little thing for Mundo in the future. So, that's something to look out for if they do make a Season 2. Just to expand upon the whole Arcane universe around Zaun and Piltover. Now, back onto Jace and him killing a kid. Well, you know, he kills a kid and then some way, somehow starts to feel that, like, yo, what Heimerdinger said to him and Victor about, hey, making all this arcane stuff in, I think it was Act 2 or Act 1, where Heimer was like, your Hextech creations will be more chaos than good for people. I see how this goes, and it doesn't end well. And of course, Jace and Victor kind of just throw that to the side, while Jace kind of goes off from the original plans of him and Victor of, hey, we're going to create these Hextech things for the good of people, but then Jace starts to go into a Noxus weapon route. So, yeah. Also, Jace gets manipulated by Mel's mother. And she a cougar. I think I already said this, but also Mel becomes a more likable character in Act 3, while Jace becomes a more unlikable character after, well, he did betray Heimerdinger by getting him off the council. He did get absolutely manipulated to absolute hell by Mel, and then later on by Mel's mother. And then, of course, starts to think about making weapons instead of for the good of people. So, you know, his heart is in the wrong place at this point. And that's what makes me like Jace less of a character. It makes me like Victor a lot more. And then, of course, we get to the part where Vi and Caitlyn kind of get beat up after fighting Jinx, and Echo fighting Jinx. Of course, things happen at the bridge. People blow up. Marcus dies, which is awesome. He almost got redeemed because, well, he's doing it for his daughter, you know. Silco has the gun to his daughter's head and all that stuff. But, again, you know, Marcus killed Grayson. That little irredeemable sack of ass. I don't like him. I was totally fine with them offing him, honestly. I could care less about Marcus. So, now back to the part where Vi and Caitlyn kind of open a window to Caitlyn's room and then gets in the room. And then, of course, Caitlyn's mom and dad run in with a gun. But the moment I saw Caitlyn's dad, I was like, Yeah, I see who wears the pants in that relationship. But enough of that. Let's get to the part where Victor is starting to change himself into more the Victor that we know in game. So of course, Victor, after meeting with Singed, he gets some shimmer from Singed, and of course looking at the body of the dead-ish axolotl monster creature that Singed and Victor were looking after in the past. And this is pretty much where Victor gets the idea from Singed to use shimmer as a catalyst in his blood with the Hextech cube, and writing runes on his arms and legs, and later on using a knife and writing runes on his own skin to start becoming more of a bio-magical tech human. But not only that happens, you know, after he gets his leg, he starts running like Usain Bolt, which honestly, when I first saw that, I was like, the boy can run! The boy can run! And that was cool to see. But after that little glimpse of hope, that little glimpse into what can be the future with the Hextech cube and the runes, well, nothing ends well, like what Heimerdinger says. And well, while Victor was trying to get more augments, I'll call them, on his arm, Miss Young goes in, you know, trying to talk to Victor, you know, try to sugar him up, trying to, you know, get with him. Miss Young sadly dies trying to help Victor, even though Victor didn't technically need help. She dies and turns to dust in the process, while Victor's hand becomes, well, augmented. Then, of course, in Act 3, Jace and Silco make a deal because, well, Silco pretty much wants the independence of Zaun to, like, be their own thing because, well, the Piltover people haven't done anything for them. So you see a lot of, like, political things between, like, you know, the fortunate and unfortunate. And then, of course, Vi finally beats Sevika, which Sevika, honestly, is a character I actually enjoy. She's not a terrible character. She works. It's cool. She beats up Vi a lot. But then later on, Vi with the gauntlets that she has that was meant for, like, cave diggers or something like that. She finally beats Sevika. Even though Sevika did have the advantage because Sevika had the shimmer and the arm that was mechanical that could pretty much turn into a weapon. So pretty much Sevika got a 1-up on Vi, and then Vi got a double up on Sevika. Then after all that, well, before even Silco made a deal with Jace, and then Vi finally beats Sevika, well, as I've said, Jace and Caitlyn and Echo were fighting Jinx at the bridge, and that's where Jinx gets beat pretty hard, and Silco has to go to Singed to pretty much try and revive Jinx. And that is where finally Jinx becomes Jinx and throws her powder self away and becomes the crazy pink-eyed, blue-haired crazy that we know. And then that's when Jinx pretty much captures Caitlyn while she's taking a shower, captures Silco after talking to Jace, and then captures Vi after getting the crap beat out of her by Sevika. And then they kind of have like a family dinner table, and that's pretty much where Jinx is like, I'm going to kill your girlfriend. I'm going to kill you. Tell me that I'm your sister, or I will kill you. Yeah, so a lot of batshit crazy stuff happens. And then Jinx kills Silco. And then that's where Silco pretty much is like, hey, I love you as a daughter, that type of thing. You are you. You're not Powder or whatever. You are Jinx. And then that's pretty much, well, the stamp has been stamped. The seal has been closed. Jinx is now Jinx. And she puts a Hextech sphere into her giant missile launcher and then shoots a missile at Mel and Jace and the other counselors. So, yeah. Very, very, very interesting cliffhanger. Pretty much Jinx shooting her ultimate at Jace and the counselors. So, wow. That was all 3 acts. I tried to simplify it down as much as possible and not to make this too long. Now, let me talk about some good things. The animation and the tone of the story was kind of dark. There's a lot of Easter eggs in the story, and the world building was awesome. Like I said, Jin's mask, Leandri's, the Chem Tank helmets, and the Kindred mask, of course. All the little Easter eggs you will see. And of course, at the end of Act 3, we saw Singed with Warwick. If you guys know the splash art, which I'll have it up on the screen, you guys would know that's Warwick. And of course, whose body is that? 100% gotta be Vander. Also, on the topic of Vander, I think Vander was a really good role model early on. I think he was a really good father figure, but he just fell through because he died, and obviously Jinx had to grow up and get taught by Silco, so he's definitely not a good role model. And then Vi, well, she was locked up in a prison getting beat up by the prison guard the whole time in Act 2. Then, of course, as I've said before, I really like Grayson. She's a cool female character, the leader of the Enforcers. Really well written, really well done. And then, obviously, in episode 1, freaking Jerry killed Tom. You know, obviously that may be a little bit of a homage to, like, Twitch in-game. You know, the little sewer rat that everybody hates because level 2 will gank you if it's a freaking Twitch support. And then, of course, throughout the entire story in the season of Arcane, you kind of see Jinx's eyes change color from gray when she's a kid, from blue when she's dealing with Hextech, and then finally pink when she becomes Jinx, the Jinx that we all know and like. So, now on to the bad things. I hated Vi. Definitely one of the characters that I hate overall. She's still well written, but I absolutely hate it because she literally has a Master Splinter moment with Vander, and Vander pretty much is telling her, yo, you're the leader of the group. If there are consequences, those consequences are on your shoulders. And then that pretty much gets thrown out the window by freaking Vi. Now, there was some weird things. Obviously, as I've said, you know, two characters becoming partners in justice or partners in crime doesn't necessarily make them gay or make them in a relationship. So, honestly, the whole entire story could have gone without it. You know, all the implications that they might be gay. It doesn't really matter. Like, why does that even matter to the story? Like, if you're going to have characters be in relationships, just have it be, like, right off the bat. Like Lucian and Senna or Xayah and Rakan. Like, that would have been fine. Also, I think the story would have been better if it wasn't Piltover and Zaun and the characters that they had. I think it would have been a lot better if they did Demacia and Noxus or Freljord, you know. They could have done a bunch more things with that. They could have even done Ionia with the whole Jhin, Zed, and Shen. You know, they could have all that instead of Caitlyn, Vi, Jinx, and then Victor and Jace. You know, there's a lot more things they could have done. Another weird thing was they had a lot of female characters in weird positions. The one specifically that I can remember the most is Mel's mother. They're from Noxus. I was expecting a dude, you know, not a cougar mom, you know. Like, if it was instead of Mel's father, instead of Mel's mother, it would have made more sense. Because it is Noxus, it is a more power-driven, power-hungry, you know, testosterone, bockiness, you know, of an area. So it would have made more sense if it was like Mel's dad from Noxus. He wants weapons, you know, he wants his daughter back because, well, he's a dad. That type of thing. And then, of course, a lot of the male characters throughout the show, minus, of course, the few main characters who are male, like Echo, Jace, Victor, Heimerdinger, all those guys were all cool and good. Vander was awesome, you know. Singed didn't really do much, but whatever. A lot of the male characters in the show were either just incompetent as fuck, or they were just bad guys. I.e., you know, Marcus, the jail guards, and all the Silco goons. You know, there was a very small pool of good guys. So, this may be, you know, it's California. You know, I would say it's a bit of like the land of the woke. And you already know how I feel about like wokeness in Hollywood and media and all that. And how they try to, you know, make male characters, you know, trash to up the female characters when you can just make the male and the female characters rise to the occasion and it doesn't matter. Like a good character they did it with was, well, Grayson. You know, she's the leader of the Enforcers. She's a great character. Plus, you have Vander, another great character. And then they both die. Like, apparently really good and well-written characters just die, apparently. So, of course, here's my list of the characters I liked. Jinx, of course, because Jinx, she's crazy, she's wacky, she's wonky, she kills everything. Vander, of course, because, hey, you know, I don't like Jinx, I don't like Vi, but I do like Vander. And I do like Klinger, but I do hate Milo. Now, Silco, a very good antagonist, a very good villain. I absolutely really like Silco. The voice actor did an awesome job. Victor, at the beginning, was a bit but then as the story went on and Victor kind of grew up with the story, Victor became a character that I actually liked a lot more. Heimerdinger, honestly, he was kind of whatever. I kind of would have put him on my little meh list, but I kind of do like the character of Heimerdinger. He was the voice of reason to freaking Victor and Jace, but they didn't listen to him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Heimerdinger. Echo, really like Echo. You know, wonky, wacky kid that really likes to do engineer type stuff and invent things. And then, of course, later on, he meets Heimerdinger after getting blown off the bridge by Jinx. And of course, Echo pretty much created a whole community for Zonites, and that was cool. So Echo is honestly a pretty good leader. Obviously, another person on my list is Grayson. As I've said, Grayson, one of the few female characters that I really enjoyed, really liked throughout the entire story. Then Klinger, of course, the big brother, big guy, the most competent of the entire crew of those little kids, of Jinx, Vi, Klinger, and Milo. Klinger was the most competent one out of all of them. And then Savika, as I said, she's cool. She beats people up. She's pretty much the second hand to Silco. There wasn't anything too terrible about her. You know, she knows where her loyalties lie. She was a good character. Then my last character is Mel. Towards the end of the show, even though she did manipulate the hell out of Jace, I still liked her at the end because, well, she had her heart in the right place. She tried to get her mom from not manipulating Jace towards the end. I thought she was cool at the end. Now, characters that I didn't really care for that much was pretty much Singed. Didn't really care about Singed all that much. He wasn't really shown a lot. He was shown with Victor and they had a backstory, which was all cool, but at the end of the day, they didn't do much with Singed, so it was big meh. Miss Young, the one that died to Victor because she was trying to help him. She thought that Victor had an experiment gone wrong, so she tried to help him, but sadly turned to dust and died, and then that's what changed Victor. Well, Miss Young, I kind of did like her, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, they didn't really do much with her. So she's kind of a meh character. And then, of course, we got a character that was shown in Jace's memories, backstory of him meeting a mage who kind of did a whole rune teleport type thing, which I've seen people say online that it might be Rise, but honestly, I don't really think it is Rise. But if it is Rise, they didn't do much with him, so it's kind of meh. I would also put Twitch in this category. They did do the Jerry kills Tom type thing, you know, at the end of the first episode, but yeah, that was kind of just whatever. Now, the characters I disliked. I don't like Jace. Again, blinded by love, did things because, well, he loved Mel, which, whatever. Got manipulated by Mel, and then, of course, betrayed Heimerdinger. That was a big no-no. Grew away from Victor and their goal of helping people, but instead created weapons, you know, towards the end. Vi, a character that I don't like, kind of a siscon, replaces Powder with Caitlyn because, well, you know, she was in jail for that long. She misses Powder, sees another girl, kind of reminds her of, like, the little naive girl that Powder was, so kind of treats her like a little sister in a bit. Or just a straight up lesbo. Like, I don't like Vi. A mindless leader, plays on emotions, you know, doesn't think rationally and logically, just fist in, fist out. Another person I put on this list was Caitlyn. I really didn't care about Caitlyn. Throughout this whole story, of course, Caitlyn's kind of a greenhorn. She's new, you know, she's very nosy, very smart. You know, it makes her a good detective, but overall, didn't really care for her character. Another character that I didn't really care for was Marcus. As I've already stated, he freaking betrayed Grayson. He freaking worked with Silco, pretty much betrayed the entire Piltover Council. Yeah, like, it's unredeemable. Like, even if he was doing it for his daughter, still unredeemable as hell. Another character on this list is Milo because, well, he made fun of Jinx the entire time, kept on telling Jinx that she was a Jinx and was pretty much useless and all that. Also, he was just a straight up asshole throughout the entire first act. So, that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Kind of made this video a little too long, but yeah, this is just kind of my little thoughts, my review on it. Out of 10, a good 8.85 out of 10. A really good story and show for people who are trying to get into League of Legends or don't really know anything about League of Legends lore and just wants to know something about it. This is a really good show. There are some things because, well, it is California, and I do not like, woke media because, well, they tend to be very stupid. As you know, with Ghostbusters 2016, that was a really shitty movie. And Ghostbusters Afterlife is a pretty good show. That's pretty much all I gotta say. And it was a really enjoyable experience to watch. But yeah, so I'm going to end the video here. Please like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below what you thought about Arcane, if you enjoyed it or not. Your little critiques of Arcane and whatnot. And that's pretty much all I gotta say. So, hey, peace out, people.